welcome back to goldstocktrades.com. Today we have a new and special guest with us, Simon Diakowski. Simon is the CEO of GSP Resource Corp that can be traded as GSPR on the TSX Venture. They're advancing a project that's located right near the Teck Resources Highland Valley copper open pit, which is, I think, one of the largest copper mines in Canada. And the company just received recently its drill permit, so there's a lot of activity going on with this company. So I'm really excited, Simon, for you to be here today and to give an introduction to this company and why you're so excited about this year's drilling program.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jeb. It's great to be on with you. You and I chatted a little bit about this project privately, but I really appreciate the opportunity to introduce it to your listeners and your followers. So I started GSP Resource Corp a couple of years back. We listed on another project in British Columbia back in November in 2018. We had a goal from the beginning to keep the share structure, really tight. Really to give us maximum flexibility to pounce on all opportunities as we saw them. And in January this year, we did do so. We had an opportunity to acquire the Highland mine project. So it's our current focus. It's our flagship asset. We have an option to acquire 100% of the project from a very well-known vendor here in British Columbia, one of the largest landowners in BC. But he and I and GSP were able to come to terms on a staged agreement to get control of this project. It's a cash and share issuance option agreement, and we're in our first year of that deal that we signed back in January. The Highland mine project, it's a past producing copper mine. It's located in southwestern British Columbia. It's about a 3.5-4 hour drive from Vancouver. And the main landmark in the area is, I think, one of the key selling features of the deal. It's the Highland Valley copper mine, which is owned by Teck Resources. It is the largest open pit copper mine in Western Canada. It produces a very large tonnage. It's been in operation for decades. It is currently being mined primarily from the Valley pit. It's several pits in the whole complex, but the Valley pit is what they're mining right now. They've recently filed a petition with the government with the British Columbia government to expand the mine life out to 2040, and some of the new production is heading in the direction of our claim. So we like that aspect of the project. Our project specifically is it's about 575 hectares, and it is right in the middle of their claim block. And it's a past producing mine, as I mentioned. It was in production in a very small scale at the turn of the last century, and then on a larger scale in the 1960s, 70s, and early 80s, where a private company was mining high-grade copper, at a rate of between 700 and 1,000 tons per day, depending on the operator in the year. And they were really focused in on high-grade copper mineralization that was fairly near surface. And they drilled and developed, and ultimately they abandoned the project in the early 80s in 1982 when commodity prices at that time took a dive during a recession then, and the project was then acquired by a company called Claimstick Resources in the mid 90s, and they took some of the historical data from the old miners and proposed a plan to mine some of the near surface high grade mineralization in arrays in an underground mining manner. And they actually had a deal in place to ship that ore to the Afton mine, as it was then known. And that deal, they raised quite a bit of money, and they came up with an agreement to mine and to mill over at Afton. But in 1995, the Afton mine and mill shut down, again due to low commodity prices, and it basically rendered the Highland project at that point that Claimsticker had as
as not economic at that point with that deal going away. So fast forward to 2008, a company called San Marco picked up the Alwyn project, and they spent a good amount of money doing basically what I would call a regional geophysical and geochemical sampling program. So they did full IP grid over the whole property, not just the old mine. And they also did soil sampling, and they identified a number of targets, exploration targets around the old mine. And they did a modest drill program in 2008, and they actually had some good success through the drill bit. One of the holes, hole 0804A, intersected 20-meter section of 1.5% copper and a 3.6 meter section of 6.34% copper, and tested some exploration targets around the old mine. They yielded some shallow hits. They only went down about 200 meters, but they got some shallow hits of low-grade copper, specifically hole 0805 pulled 21 meters of 0.28%, and hole 0806 pulled 13 meters of 0.44%. So still, in and of themselves, not economic, but definitely, indicative of potential for, bulk tonnage, low grade in the area, which is what they're mining next door at Highland Valley. So San Marco put those results out. I think it was the week before the Lehman Brothers collapsed in September of 2008. So, really hit a challenging market, and San Marco, the ownership traded hands, and the company ultimately went on to focus on projects in Mexico, and they elected not to work on Alwyn for 10 years. And after 10 years in British Columbia, if you don't work on a claim or pay for it, then they lapse. So they lapsed, and the gentleman that we have optioned the claims from spent some time reconsolidating the land package. And when he finally was able to get everything packaged back up, we got in touch with him and were able to strike a deal with him in GSP to have a crack at it. So, as you mentioned, we've been working diligently on a couple of fronts. One of them being permitting. So we just a couple of weeks ago announced that we received a drill permit. So we're prepping to drill the Alwyn. We're actively right now working with our consultants to finalize drill hole locations and finalize our strategy. And while we were in the permitting process, we actually did something that no group had done before us on the Alwyn, which was to compile and digitize and model all of the historical data from claim staker, San Marco, and the Alwyn mining companies of the 70s and 80s, and to build the makings of a model, so that when we go in there with the drill bit this year, we'll be able to test the existing deposit that's there, see, confirm some aspects of it that we know, confirm to see what's been mined, what has been mined, and also help point the drill in a manner that we can avoid hitting old workings, so that we don't jeopardize shareholders' money with lost holes, to the best of our abilities. And then we're also going to drill some exploration targets underneath the main Alwyn structure. So we think that potentially the high grade mineralization that makes up the Alwyn deposit might have a source that's deeper down beneath it, and that source might even be potentially related to our next door neighbor, the Valley Copper Pit, which is about 1.5 kilometers to the east of us. So really excited to get going on the drill program. Drill's going to be turning this week, and what can I say? We're stoked. It's been 8-9 months of getting ready for this, and here we are.
Well, I've been following this story, for a couple of months now, and what really attracted me, was the satellite images that have been showing the expansion trend of the Highland Valley Copper Mine. And for many investors that don't know about the Highland Valley Copper Mine, that's run by Teck, which is I think they have assets of over $40 billion in assets, major mine. They do over 100,000 tons of copper per year. They produce over 100,000 tons of copper per year. And the Alwyn mine is, if you look at the satellite image from 2005 to 2014, you see the Highland Valley copper mine expanding and moving closer and closer to your project, which in 2008, when San Marco drilled this, I don't think they would have seen if they saw how fast this mine was growing. It's a totally different. The area around that. Could you comment on that, Simon?
Yeah. So when you're referring to slide 10 on our presentation, the valley pit has been expanding steadily westward towards us. And what investors might want to note about the Alwyn project in relation to the Highland Valley is that the top of our project sits at about 650 meters above sea level. And, if you just look at the satellite images, you'll see that the valley pit is actually down the hill a little bit. So the top of that pit is around 1,400 meters above sea level, and it goes down about a kilometer. So, they're really mining deep down there. And in our project, nobody's drilled below 1,400 meters above sea level or thereabouts. So, we plan to drill deeper down and to test that, that theory that, maybe we have some bulk tonnage mineralization at depth there. So that's, that'll be an exciting thing for us to explore. Whether it's there or not, we don't know. But, we look forward to finding out. And even if it's not there, we do think that there's some potential to expand the high grade zone that we do have, within the Alwyn structure.
Now, before this drilling program that you're set out to do this summer, as you've just got your drill permit this September, you recently put out a 3D interpretation that they did not have when San Marco was drilling. What did that 3D interpretation tell your technical team?
Yeah, so it gave us, really good look at, there's a few things actually. I don't want to get too technical here. I'm not a geologist, so I better not. But it gave us the ability to drill and to confirm that resource. Potentially to be able to put together a 43-101 compliant resource over the next year or two, and to drill without hitting old workings. So, one thing that San Marco had to deal with was they didn't have this model. They didn't have the information to look into the ground to see, where all the old mine workings were oriented. So they actually had to abandon a couple holes due to hitting old workings. So that's one thing we wanted to avoid. And specifically hole 0804A is one where they ended up intersecting a very high grade section, 3.6 meters of over 6% copper, 6.34%. But that hole had to terminate at 131 meters down hole because they hit an old working that they hadn't mapped. So, that's first and foremost, we now have all those old workings mapped. So we have a much better chance at missing them when we're drilling. And then, we've also got a 3D look at how the ore bodies there are oriented. So, our geologists have been able to better target, some expansion targets by following the flow of the mineralization there and having a bit better understanding of how that deposit might have formed.
I recently heard an interview with Mr. Eric Sprott, the billionaire junior mining investor, that he mentioned about silver. I know that San Marco drilled for copper, but a lot of investors that I've spoken to about GSP Resource Corp says that there's potential for silver. Could you comment on that?
Yes. So the previous operator, San Marco, they only reported in their news release copper numbers, but in that last drill hole I mentioned, there in the assay certificates there is mention of silver. So it's not bonanza grades, but it seems like it might be increasing at depth. So there was some silver in that last section in that 3.6 meter section, and there was some gold as well. So in our drilling this fall starting up here, we'll be assaying for both silver and gold, and we'll be very excited if in some of the deeper drilling it does yield some gold or silver, that could be an added bonus. But the primary target still is high grade copper. But again, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that we intersect some precious metals a little bit deeper down.
I recently read an article that James Qantas wrote on GSP, and he mentioned that it's not just Teck in the area, but there's also two nearby mills, Craigmont and Afton. For those that aren't really familiar with the area, could you give them an idea of what's there and who might be looking at GSP Resource Corp? Going forward, if this does show to become economic mineralization.
Yeah, certainly. So, the whole region, and investors can look at our corporate presentation on slide 12 to just get a feel for how we're situated. In relation to these other mining operations. But, within about 100 kilometers of this Teck Highland Valley complex, there is a mine called the New Afton mine, which is controlled by New Gold, which is just outside of Kamloops. And then there's a past producing copper mine in Merritt called Craigmont, and that there's actually a fully functioning mill there that's owned and controlled by a company called Nicola Mining. And just from browsing on their website, I understand that they have some spare milling capacity there that they contract out. So, it's the whole region is a hotbed of mining activity. West Haven Shovel Nose deposit is it's about 100 kilometers away as well, or 75. And then even further south than that, near Princeton, you have the Copper Mountain mine. So, there's many active mining operations in the region. It's a relatively mining friendly area of British Columbia. And I forgot to mention the Brenda mine, which is in between, off of Highway 5 there, in between Kelowna and Merritt. So, really well situated in terms of active and past producing mining operations. And in terms of how we develop Alwyn, we're going to be drilling this off, and if we're successful and investors like what they see, we'll be building out our team and looking, at all options to generate, to create value for our shareholders. So, I think at this point, it's got all the right ingredients to warrant our upcoming drill program. And then, with some success, we look forward to, ramping up into a phase 2 program as well.
So today we're speaking with Simon Diakowski, who's the CEO of GSP Resource Corp. You can get more information by going to their website at GSPResource.com. You can also email Simon if you have any questions or want to get more details about the company before making an investment as you do your due diligence. It's Simon at GSPResource.com. And you can also call him at 604-619-7469. And he's very responsive and to shareholders, and focused on social and environmental responsibility and creating jobs for British Columbia-based crews and adding value in BC's interior. Really up-and-coming CEO, and I'm really excited, Simon, about the drilling program this year. It's still a very tight share structure. I think you have small shares outstanding, right? I remember reading in James's report that there's still a tight share structure. Am I correct, Simon?
Yeah, we're still super tight, only about 60 million outstanding. A lot of that's in, very closely held hands. 16. The float is much less than that, and we're fully funded. We have almost $1 million in cash, and we're in good shape on all fronts. So we're really excited about getting going here.